The first theme park wasn't Disney World. The first theme park was the Soviet Union. But I mainly came to these theme parks, obviously to relax, have a good time, have fun, spend time with Nadia and stuff, but also because I'm really fascinated by the idea of a theme park capitalism and the whole Disney adult phenomena. And both me and Nadia basically came to these parks to kind of investigate, like, what is the Disney adult? Because there are so many of them at these parks, and you kind of can observe them in the wild. Disney's Animal Kingdom has got a lot of animals, got a lot of elephants and cool shit and whatever. I loved it. I loved watching the animals, but you also people watching the Disney adults, and it's crazy. And actually, I want to tell you guys some funny stories because I wanted to wait till I get home to tell you this shit, but I want to tell you guys this. So I was at the Animal Kingdom Park, and we went to this show called The Bug's Life, or It's Tough to Be a Bug, or something like that, right? Where you sit in like an auditorium and there's like a 4D show based on the bug's life, something like that, right? As you guys know, I'm scared of bugs. Okay. As you guys know, the earliest streams I did, I had the wig splitter. And anytime there was a spider, I like bugs, I'm scared of bugs, right? I started to realize something about these parks, which is that as a grown man who's 26 years old, as a grown man going to these parks, shit is scary, man. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. It's scary, okay? I'm sitting in this shit and there's big fucking bugs, man. Big animatronic bugs. And there's spiders coming down and there's bugs on the floor and they're on your back. And I'm just a little scared. And this whole time I'm kind of here and I'm just like, I don't know what's coming next. I don't know what's coming next. And I'm a little bit startled. If a big ass animatronic spider comes my way, it's just like, as I feel like there's something instinctual to be. I know it's fake. I know it's not real. It's just like when I was a teenager, I wasn't scared of this shit. But as a grown man, it's just like I find Disney World a little bit scary. Okay. So then I was thinking to myself, like, how is this for kids? Imagine if you're a 5 year old. So we came out and we came out of this place, and there was like this 5 year old boy who's kind of like telling his mom, like, oh, that was scary. And his mom's like, no, it's not. No, it's not. Shut up. Shut up. It's not scary. Don't say that. And I'm like, damn, you brought your kid to Disney World and it's for them, right? It's like I don't think you're doing this for you. And I wanted to intervene and I wanted to say, like, yo, look at me. I wanted to intervene and go, I was scared of it. You know what I mean? I wanted to intervene, go up to that mother and be like, I was scared. You know, I didn't do it though, but I wanted to. I'm a 26-year-old man. I'm scared. Of course, a 5 year old is going to be scared of a giant fucking spider, man. You know what I mean? And that's what I realized about Disney rides in general, because I've been on a few of them, quite a few of them. And they're scary, man. And you can spin it however you want. Oh, it's just some fun shit. I don't care. If I want to ride and there's a big ass animatronic dragon and it's really dark and it's really loud and it's startling you coming out of the fucking darkness, that's scary, man. You know what I mean? That shit is scary. It's like, look how big these and realistic they are. We went on the Yeti thing and there's a big Yeti. By the way, guys, I took pictures of the gorillas, the silverback. I can't wait to share those with you guys. I'm just looking for the right opportunity to post them. But I realized I was scared of these rides, and I wasn't scared in the sense of like I want to get off, but I was scared in the sense of like I'm genuinely kind of like a little bit startled, like what's gonna happen next? You know what I mean? But I came to the conclusion that Disney is traumatizing children because I remember when I was very young, I came to Disney World. I think I was terrified when I was here, right? When you're a baby and these really loud noises and fearsome, it's just that they're very dark. It's like it's a very dark lighting. It's pitch black a lot of the time, and there's just like like a giant fucking beast coming out of the fucking shadows to scare the shit out of you. I'm sorry, that's a little bit that's rustling my jimmies a little bit. You know what I mean? But and a common theme I noticed in these parks. I didn't go to the Star Wars one because I wasn't interested. And I wouldn't have had a good time. It would have been miserable. This didn't seem like it was for kids. That's the takeaway I got from this shit is that I don't think Disney World, I don't think kids really like Disney World. When I say kids, I mean like 5 and below, 6 and below. I don't think they do. I think kids like running around and jumping on jungle gyms and stuff, but I don't think they actually like Disney World. I think the parents did because you can ask Nadia, she's sleeping right now, but you would not believe how common it was to see parents like yelling at their kids and kids crying, bawling their eyes out, and parents yelling at them either because the kids were scared of something or because the kids didn't like the ride. Like we went on the Guardians of the Galaxy ride, the new one at Epcot, and then this like kid came out. He was like 8 years old, and he was like crying. He was like, "I didn't like it," and the mom just like roared at him. Then why do we stay in line? And then he just started breaking into tears, and I'm like, "Damn, the happiest place on earth. This is what it does to children." And I kind of realized this is for the adults. It's the adults who are having much more fun and much more of a great time than the children are here, right? Like the children are confused by this like and trust me, Disney World's cool. When I say it's cool, it's like it's a marvel. It's very impressive how they do these rides, and like technologically it's very impressive. Thematically, it's very consistent. It's very high quality. There's no doubt about that. But you don't appreciate those things as a child, right? I find that a little creepy. But those are just some. But I want to give you some deeper thoughts, I guess, on the idea of the theme park, right? Because what I find so interesting about Disney World is that before, and I'm talking before as in when it first launched and throughout, the 80s, the 90s, before recently, I guess, before the internet age, the information age, the Disney theme park was like a form of escapism. The outside world is not themed, it's chaotic and almost meaningless. And then the Disney World theme park, it's a themed park. Everywhere you go has intentionality, purpose, and meaning behind it, and design behind it. And what we've witnessed with the information age recently is we've witnessed the Disneyfication of America and of the advanced world. Basically, all of the cities are being constructed with specific intentionality and design, not in terms of function anymore, but in terms of the conveyance of themes, ideological themes, and meaning, right? Yeah, smart cities. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Smart cities. But not just the smart city, but the idea of the theme. The theme is starting to animate all aspects of life. So you go from a theme park to the whole thing. And I want to tell you guys, the first theme park wasn't Disney World. The first theme park was the Soviet Union. So Disney World is a kind of communism, if you want, right? Because believe it or not, communism is not primarily about a management dispute. Communism is about the relationship between some kind of shared, collective, and social meaning and the premises by which that meaning can reproduce itself, or that social substance can reproduce itself. And communism implies a unity between those two things. In communism, the theme was the worker, the work, the hammer and sickle, and the means by which that theme was reproduced was also by means of work. It was a worker state, but it was also a theme park in a sense. And Disney World is very similar in terms of, you can interpret it if you want in terms of consumption. You can interpret it in terms of the globalist subjectivity, which very much the theme of Epcot, in my view. Epcot is like a globalist, and there's a whole interesting history behind that. And I do remember Kantbot, I think, or Edberg talking about Disney's creation of Epcot. I do remember that before, right? It's fascinating because the magic is very much no longer potent at Disney. Everything new, everything trendy or whatever that didn't seem outdated at these parks has to play some kind of homage to Marvel or Star Wars or something else in some kind of way. All of the Disney stuff, uniquely Disney, historically Disney stuff, is just completely outdated and like not a thing really anymore, right? So the Disney theme parks is almost like one of the only real museums in America. It's really a museum. It's a museum of a lost dreams of American globalism, is how I interpret it. And I have more to say on it as well, but that's really my thoughts on Disney World. It's a museum of America's lost dreams, because I think we are increasingly seeing most of the gentrified kind of newer cities being developed in the United States. They're already parks. There's that kind of, I don't know, can I even cite that clip where it's like she's like, "This is the neighborhood and you are not welcome." And she starts screaming and shit at that guy.
This is the neighborhood and you are not welcome. That's why I need to be here.
That's a theme park, right? And the World's Fair go way back. And Epcot is like a big World's Fair. What's interesting about it. Also, the Epcot Spaceship Earth ride was fascinating to me because so Epcot has this big kind of globe in the middle, and then there's a ride called Spaceship Earth, which details this kind of like linear history of human technological progress, which is fascinating, right? But yeah, this is not going to be serious if I do that. What's crazy about it is it gave me kind of like this is the China 1.0, right? Where it's like it's about technological progress and civilizational progress. And then in the future, the internet will connect us all. This is from the 90s, so it's outdated. And it's like we're all going to have a shared progress on one spaceship Earth. And now you have Xi Jinping's idea of the shared destiny of mankind. Meanwhile, the United States has completely abandoned this kind of aspiration of some kind of minimum of human progress and global progress, and optimism and enthusiasm about technology has completely evaporated. I recommend if you guys ever are in Orlando and if you can ever spare it to visit one of these parks, I do recommend Epcot, really. I think Epcot will be the most educational and like useful. Also, you can have a good time and stuff, but it's going to kind of really give you perspective on the lost dreams of American globalism and how everything went wrong. Because what it really is it's charting and it's detailing where all of this went wrong. You know, there's a I don't know what game this is or what movie this is, but it's like you guys ever play a game or a movie where you're walking into like a laboratory? What's that game BioShock where it's like it's the construction of a utopia and then everything somehow went so fucking wrong, but you still see artifacts of the naivety that people had before it became a disaster. I think that's really the vibes I get from Epcot and that kind of ride. Like it's this island of let's do some Jason Unruh analysis. You know, the Fallout games. Fallout, sometimes you'll come across this secluded island of robots or something that were unaffected by the chaos of the nuclear Armageddon. So everything's just going on as it was, and it's a very ominous kind of irony. And that's exactly the kind of feeling you get from Epcot. It's just this island of, it's a museum. It's an untouched museum that somehow was not affected by the American apocalypse we are now witnessing today. The American Dasein, specifically. And the theme of the Disney theme park, in addition to everything I just said, is also this notion of America, as Heidegger, for example, understood it, is a future oriented civilization. It's a future oriented kind of Dasein. It's a Dasein which searches for its being in some kind of future, some kind of possibility, not something that has any precedent in the past, not any kind of past tradition, but that potential which has not been realized within it. At least that's my take, right? At least that's my take. And in that case, Disney is very much about trying to give expression to the American, this future orientedness of, let's call it American socialistic planning, beginning from, let's say, Henry Ford, right? Where the capitalist is not simply the English capitalist trying to make a buck, but a visionary of some kind, like Henry Ford, who wants to create a system. The biggest lie you ever told is that America is a traditionally capitalist country and that American capitalism is defined by a bunch of selfish capitalists peddling their wares in return for money. That's more the English kind of industrial capitalism. The uniquely American one, corresponding to America's ascendance into world history, is let's call it a system based capital, right? It's about creating not just a product to sell, but a feedback loop by which people will be dependent on your product, by which the purchase of your product will also relate to the supply chain of many other products and living spaces and so on and so forth. So Walt Disney is a perfect example of the uniquely American economic elite class or capitalist ruling class, right? Henry Ford, Walt Disney, these people represent visionaries, not simply capitalists, but they're called visionaries because they're creating systems, not just products, but systems, right? And Disney is aestheticizing that American economic system itself. It's the aesthetic form of America. Disney is America's ideology in a sense. There's a fundamental aspect of globalist American ideology that Disney uniquely captures. Yeah, imagination is the explicit theme of Disney, but I want to be more precise. But that's explicitly what they say. Yeah, it's that it's imagination. But what the sublime object of Disney's ideology, the ideology of Disney is an ideology of the American world building, systems building, right? And that's what the magic is. It's magic relative to the metaphysics of England, according to which the only things that exist are empirically observable by precedent, so on, by the senses. And then Disney is aestheticizing the sixth sense, which can't be reducible to anything, as a kind of magic. And that's really what the magic is about. Let me tell you guys something. I've come to a realization, I am the Walt Disney of Marxism Leninism. That's what I realized. I am the Walt Disney of Marxism Leninism. I'm trying to make infrared the next Disney, but not for kids. I'm trying to make infrared like Disney, motherfucker. And I'm not talking about Universal. I'm talking about like Disney, okay? So I am the Walt Disney of Marxism Leninism. Okay? Until very recently, and it's very mysterious, guys, because I just get sudden epiphanies. And I came to Florida with Nadia. A light bulb went off in my head. Thank you, holy fuck. And for some fucking reason, I was like, I gotta go to Disney World. I gotta go fucking to Orlando and see what all that shit is about. And I didn't fully rationalize it in my head, but there's just some fucking thing that was drawing me there for some reason. I was like, you know what? We got to go to that shit. And I went to it when I was a kid, when I was a child. So it's not like I'm like, oh, I'm missing out. I want to go experience that. It's more like I got to do it. And now I'm starting to realize why I had to do it. I had to do it because as I'm making merch for infrared, which is what I'm doing, by the way, right? And I'm understanding how infrared is relating to your lives and our universe, basically. I think there's something very, very, very special and important about Disney if you want to understand socialism in the 21st century. I kind of went on a tangent yesterday, but like I'm so convinced now that I actually went to the park. I went to Epcot and I went to Animal Kingdom, and it's like, holy fuck, that has inspired me so much in terms of what I plan to do with the branding. Thank you so much, Sage.
Here's to the Disney of Marxism/Leninism.
Thank you, Sage.
Place on earth.
Appreciate you, man. And what do I mean by that is that I'm so impressed by Disney. I was so impressed, one of those parks, by the thematic consistency of it. And I almost feel like I'm an anthropologist. I'm going there and I'm documenting the Disney adult phenomena, right? The prolonged adolescence, the Disney Plus adult. They love Disney. And I didn't go to I couldn't stomach going to the Star Wars one, even though that probably would have been better for documenting what I wanted to. I have to at least enjoy it a little bit. So I went to Animal Kingdom and I went to Epcot. I had no, it probably would have been better for research purposes. Thank you so much, sir. Appreciate you.
Us got that dictator swag.
Yeah, it probably would have been, thank you so much, sir. Probably would have been better for research purposes to pull up to the Star Wars one, which is the latest and greatest. But I can only stomach so much, right? I want to enjoy it a little bit too while I'm fucking there. I don't want to fucking miserable. Like, I can't be inspired if I can't enjoy it. And I did enjoy it. I enjoyed the Animal Kingdom and being with animals and shit. But I have a whole new perspective now, and I have a very clear direction as far as how I want to deal with infrared branding and merch, because I'm starting to understand how this shit works. First of all, I want to tell you guys something. Anyone who fucking tells you that Disney's just a capitalist corporation that wants to make a profit is fucking full of shit. Disney's not trying to turn a profit. When you go to Disney World and there's like a statue of Mickey Mouse that costs $500, it's not that they're trying to get huge margins, actually. It's that there's a big fucking demand, and it's like supply and demand. There's just a huge fucking demand for it. And it's almost like Disney gives you this feeling that, not that they're trying to make money off of you, which they're not, I don't think, at least, right? That's a very antiquated, cynical way of looking at it. It's not that they're trying to make money off you. They're trying to sustain the coherent brand of Disney. They're trying to sustain. They're not trying to actually make any. They're not trying to make more profits for profit's sake. They're trying to expand the Disney enterprise and empire and corporation for the corporation's own sake. And that is a primitive, obviously, we've talked about it before, form of socialism. Disney's not just trying to turn a fucking profit. They are trying to sustain the experience. And the best way I could understand this is waiting in lines. When you go to these parks and you're waiting in the fucking line to experience the ride or whatever, you start to realize, like, this is a high demand. There's a lot of people that want this, and why they want it cannot be explained in capitalistic terms. Capitalism tends to only be able to explain the whole the model of capitalist analysis tends to only be able to explain already captured markets that are just assumed to be a given. And yeah, some of them are part of leisure and ways of life, like people want to drink tea, for example, right? But it mainly revolves around the modern bourgeois subject's needs, right? Well, when you're talking about Disney, you're dealing with a different kind of need altogether that can't be explained in traditionally capitalist terms. Where you do deal with a scenario where it really does feel like the Disney Corporation doesn't want to create Disney to make profit. They want to make profit to make Disney and keep Disney sustained, right? And Universal probably is more of a capitalistic enterprise, but even then, the capitalism is sublimated. I thought also understanding the branding for Universal was very important and interesting, if only to contrast it and help myself understand better how it differs from the Disney one, right? But we are plagued with the phenomena right now in this country with the Disney adults. And you have to think about the millions and millions of people for whom Disney is necessary to fucking stay alive, to cope with life, right? And then I thought of something. I was talking to Nadia in the car, actually. I was talking to Nadia in the car about this, and I was saying, you know what? All of the Disney adults and Harry Potter fandom, everything their heart is searching for. And what they're basically searching for is a way to cope with what Zizek will call the reality of fiction, the reality of virtuality, or the actuality of virtuality. The fact that our plain reality is not enough, and it needs to give rise to some kind of fictionalized, and I call it thematized, interface in order for us to deal and understand with our everyday surroundings. Basic modern or postmodern, whatever you want to call it, contemporary American subjectivity revolves, I'm going to just put this in stupid terms so everyone can understand. The typical person's understanding and perspective on the world for the typical person, right, is based on this horrible excess that comes with living in the world and participating in society, that is the excess of virtuality that requires our world to have a theme. And that theme is what gives people a sense of meaning and intentionality behind things. So in other words, in our ordinary reality, it's very boring and it's very dreary and it's very empty, right? Somehow there's this excess of virtuality we have to address in some kind of way, which we use. It's like a form of goggles we put on in order for our world to be bearable, right? And for it to make sense to us. Disney and Harry Potter are about that. That's what Disney and Harry Potter is about. Disney, specifically the Disney brand, is the most powerful brand, I think, in America. I don't think there's a more powerful... Please, guys, throw something out there that you think is a more powerful brand in America than Disney. Because you can say, well, what about McDonald's? Well, McDonald's is for food. What about Apple? Apple comes close, but at the end of the day, Apple will always revolve around technology almost exclusively. And you come to think about it, and well, I mean, Disney encompasses everything. If they made a Disney iPhone, people would fucking buy it. BlackRock is not a brand. If people made a Henry Ford burger, I don't think people would fucking buy it. But if someone made a Disney burger, I think they would fucking buy it, right? Nintendo, that is interesting, but it's not American. That's Japanese. Although I will say Nintendo probably is close, I think, right? But you have to think about, I don't know if there's a technical term for this. I'm not like I'm not like well versed in the specific field of study to know the terms, but what is it, brand liquidity or something like that? Like, you can slap the Disney label to fucking anything, and you will change the nature of the thing to make it desirable. And that is not true for any other fucking brand, I don't think. I don't think that's true for any other brand. If you had a Disney housing complex, brand loyalty, kind of, right? But I don't think... No, Mike, dude, why are you saying Microsoft? Would you eat a fucking Microsoft burger? You probably wouldn't. Would you get the Microsoft phone? They tried to launch a phone, it fucking failed, right? Microsoft is not a powerful brand at all. Actually, Microsoft is the worst example of this. Because Microsoft is a brand that we just have to tolerate because it's pre-installed on our fucking computers. Nobody actually likes or feels, that Microsoft enriches the brand, enriches their world. The recognizability of the Microsoft brand comes from the fact that it's basically this bloatware that's already pre-installed on our hardware that we buy, which we need. So it's like a brand monopoly. Sports do come close. I'll give you that. Sports come close. Like a sports team, right? But the problem with sports teams is they're not universal. You can then say the NFL. Thank you so much, Demetrion.
Looking good, bro. Flex biceps.
Thank you so much, Demetrion. Appreciate you, bro. You could say like the NFL, right? But I think the teams are all owned separately. So they all have their own branding and stuff. But to be honest with you guys, here's where I'll fucking right? Slap you across the face. The problem with the NFL is it's not all ages brand. Branding is not only across different things, but across different demographics. And Disney manages to be for all Americans, regardless of their age and almost regardless of their demographic, Disney maintains the most powerful brand.
Tesla is a powerful
Thank
brand.
you so much, Noscast.
Elon is a huge part of it.
Thank you, Noscast, but it's not like Disney. I'll tell you that. It is not like Disney. Nothing comes close to Disney at all. And I've thought about this, right? I've thought about this. So I was basically, when I the MAGA, sorry, not meaning to spoil it. The Disney adults and the Harry Potter adults, I said something to Nadia in the car. That is what Black Lives Matter and all this stuff is all about, by the way. All of these causes, thank you so much, Tristan. All of these social justice causes and astroturfed causes and color revolutions in the United States come from this kind of revolution that's going on in culture. The need for reality to be thematized. The whole crusade against cars and the campaign for walkable cities is part of the same trend. The basic idea that thematically America is lacking and it's not coherent. And injustices, like, you have to think to yourself, why is a teenage upper middle class or rich suburbanite so passionate about Black Lives Matter? Where does that come from? Does it come from some visceral class interest that allows them to relate to the victims of police brutality? Of course not. It comes from the fact that within their Disneyfied, thematized universe, this is a gaping hole, right? The fact that this injustice exists is an affront to the thematic coherence of what America is. So it's all about thematic consistency. Because if you don't like the idea that we live in socialism, then start telling yourself and start getting on with the program about the fact that we live in a theme park capitalism. It's a thematized capitalism. Now, theme park capitalism is the same as socialism. You want to know another example of a theme park civilization is the Soviet Union. I talked about this before. The Soviet Union is thematized, right? Maybe you could say the same about Nazi Germany, the fascist. In the case of fascism, it's similar. You could probably make that argument, right? But the theme itself, in its content, is important. That has to be analyzed specifically. For example, I would say fascism was a reaction to the end of classical modernity and the end of the capitalist mode of production, which tried to cope with the new socialist mode of production, but did so in a reactionary fashion. So I wouldn't say fascism is socialist in the sense that it heralded a socialist superstructure. It was a capitalistic superstructure reacting to its own foundations being transformed. But in any case, I said something basic, like all of these liberal Disney adults and Harry Potter fans got what they wanted. They are longing for an America, or for a country or for a civilization that is thematized, right? They are upset of the chaos of basic bare reality and its lack of thematic meaningfulness. The fact that we have cars everywhere, oh, it's not rational, it doesn't make sense. The fact that there's all this injustice going on, all of that, they only care about that because it speaks to the lack of intentionality behind the society and broader world that we live in. So I said something. I said they actually got what they wanted and they reject it and they can't cope with it because MAGA is that. That's exactly what MAGA is. MAGA is thematized politics. Is MAGA just America? No, MAGA is America as a theme park. MAGA rallies are like theme parks. The MAGA brand is, in a way, in some sense, comparable to the Disney brand. Because you guys didn't point this out. When I said, name a brand more powerful than Disney, it's really MAGA that comes close. Think about it. You can, if there's a MAGA burger, if there was a MAGA amusement park, people would go. If there was a MAGA hotel, people would. MAGA is an extremely powerful brand. And MAGA is this redoubling of America into a theme. The idea of America as a theme. America as a brand. That is socialism, my friends. That's not classical liberal capitalism by any stretch of the imagination. That is reflective of a socialized, thematized community, right? So I said it's almost as if Disney World is too expensive. Disney World is too expensive, so Trump came and he gave Mickey Mouse. Thank you so much, Janar.
Would you say servicing a brand is unproductive labor?
Yes, of course. But thank you so much, Janar. What I said was, it's almost as if because Disney World is too expensive, Trump, who's a Prometheus, he came from the ruling class, he's like a elite, he betrayed his own class, and he gave Mickey Mouse to the masses. He gave the theme park to everyone. So every MAGA rally is like an amusement park. Every MAGA rally is a imagineered experience in some sense, right? And when you think about it, it's very powerful. Because to be able to enjoy a virtualized world is a very expensive endeavor. You have to have Disney Plus. You got to go visit the amusement parks and stay at their hotels. You've got to buy all the merchandise. You've got to decorate everything. It's not very accessible to the masses to be a Harry Potter fan or a Disney fan or even a Marvel fan. It's just not that accessible to live and dwell in a meaningful way with intentionality. So Trump, MAGA is free. Disney World is too expensive, but MAGA is free. Right? So Trump gave Americans their own theme. And this is very powerful. He was the first politician to do that, to make America a theme. And that is a very, very powerful innovation by Trump, which shouldn't be underestimated in any capacity. And guess what else is a theme? This is a brand right here, the infrared one. Except I like to use the old globe, which I think I still have. The old globe will always be the, like, I'm doing merch. This is going to be on the merch, right?
Paste. Mega equals Mickey Mouse socialism.
See, the thing is, Suez. Thank you, Suez. The thing is, Suez, all socialism is like Mickey Mouse. It's not that socialism, it's a Mickey Mouse socialism. It's that Mickey Mouse himself is a form of socialistic aesthetics within capitalism. I'm gonna get to that more, by the way. But what I was saying, sorry, yeah. This is classic infrared. This will always be the classic infrared brand. This is just the updated contemporary version that's just more suited to the time. This brand will continually evolve and update according to time. But this will always be the classic one, right? And that's very important for me. But infrared I always wanted to be something, the sixth sense to make sense of reality, because that longing to make sense of reality is there. And that's when I realized that it also was a big inspiration and wake-up call to me, because I realized I was kind of I wasn't hesitant, but I was kind of not prioritizing merch too much, because I was like, well, this is just kind of like self-gain, and I'm just making merch for myself. But after visiting Disney World, I'm like, you guys want the fucking merch. You want to be able to wear that shit. You want to be able to rep that infrared shit. That's what you guys want, right? And it's not really a form. I'm just facilitating an ability for you guys. You know what I mean? That's kind of how I feel. I understand it now. Y'all want the ability to fill that vacuum, because everyone in America wants a Disney or wants a Harry Potter or wants a Marvel. Whether it's MAGA or something else, or whether it's the tanky aesthetic, which is a very poor and pathetic aesthetic, the whole tanky one, right? The tanky aesthetic is the worst brand right now in America. And we're trying to take the best elements from the tanky brand aesthetic, but everyone wants a brand, and ideology is no different from that. It's just like, it's a really weak brand to be like an ML in America, right? Oh yeah, hammer and sickle. A plain old hammer and sickle and a Soviet Ushanka hat and some vodka, or I don't fucking know, right? It's an extremely, extremely weak brand. It's not thematically coherent, which is why it is oftentimes, ideological branding is oftentimes associated with autism, because it's not thematically consistent. How can you live and dwell in this world and use it as a filter to make sense of culture, to be a brand, to have this brand be the way you interface with reality? It's too narrow. So I'm more motivated to do this merch now, just for the sake of, you guys, I understand it's a content drought. One time Prism told me that it's a content drought, and I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I've been doing debates, I've been doing streams, and he's like, no, it's a content drought. And now I understand what he meant by that. I understand what the content drought really means now. Like, I get it. After going to fucking Disney and shit, and like, I fucking get it now, 2023 will be the year. Guarantee this to you. Merch and events by Infrared. And I'm a fucking risk taker, which means I'm not gonna hoard any money. I'm gonna fucking dedicate my resources into this. Period. I care about the brand of it. I want to be like Walt Disney. The profit is not the primary thing. And it's never been the primary thing, but it's just like, I will take risks. I will fucking take risks, is what I'm saying. I will take and I always take risks, you know what I mean? The fucking Trump video, the MAGA rally video, I spent like $700 on that shit total. And it was worth it to me, So I will take risks. That's the Deng Xiaoping high risk, high reward fucking mindset, grindset. That's what I'm fucking about. I'm not about this fucking hesitation. We're in it for all of it, or we're in it for none of it. That's my fucking view. I'm in it for all of it, for this fucking brand, the Infrared brand, to go mainstream. I have a vision. You can call me crazy. I don't give a fuck. I have a vision of people rocking the infrared hats, the t-shirts, the backpacks, and that's some mainstream shit. I have a fucking vision, man. I want to be the Walt Disney of Marxism-Leninism. I want to be the Walt Disney of MAGA in America, which means MAGA communism. I want to be the Walt Disney of MAGA. You know what I mean? I have a dream. You know what I mean? I have a dream that infrared can do that. And anyone who says, oh, Haj, you sound so slimy and shit right now, please, I implore you, use your fucking head for a second. I challenge anyone who's got a problem with what I'm saying. Use your fucking head for a second. Name me one fucking political movement in the United States in the 21st century. You really think you're going to build a communist movement without understanding how branding and symbolism works? You really think that? You really think you're going to be able to do that? Listen, MAGA was a brand. It is the most successful counter-hegemonic mass popular movement in the 21st century America. Name anything else. Even Bernie Sanders' bullshit was a brand. Bernie was a brand. Bernie himself was the brand. Bernie was a fucking brand. Everyone knows that, right? The Bernie 2020 shit. That was the fucking brand, okay? See, here's the brilliance of Trump. This is why, like, you listen, I cannot take you seriously if you're not a MAGA communist. I'm going to tell you why right now. Everyone's like, oh, sum it up, Oz. Okay, you don't have to read my Substack. You don't have to do any of that shit. Here's why I don't take you seriously if you're not MAGA. Ready? Obama, his campaign, the first mass digitized branded campaign in the digital age, right? 2008. What was Obama? Thank you so much, Jay Grimes.
It is far more slimy to pretend that the very concept of the political doesn't exist. If not slimy, then hypocritical.
Thank you, Grimes. Appreciate you. Obama, okay? Obama, change, hope. And then it was like colored in the American flag. Obama never had the courage to turn America into a theme. Because America for Obama is sacred. Oh, the sacredness of Washington, D.C. and all of those stone museums in Washington, D.C. and the White House and the Capitol and the sacred Capitol building that's under attack in January. Oh, my God. Oh, the Constitution as a mere theme attraction is just sacred. America, in terms of the continuity of classical liberalism. That's what it is. The classical liberalist view of the state is based on this unspoken sacred texture. And Obama's campaign spoke to that, but it's a fraud because the form of the campaign was a fucking brand. But he's bluffing about the sacredness of American exceptionalism and all this shit, right? Trump was the first motherfucker to come out here and desacralize America and turn it into a brand. MAGA, make America great again. You know what America he's talking about? A thematized America. Notice I don't say mythologized. I say thematized. I mean an America that's not based in any white stone marble foundation of classical liberalism, but an America that's based purely in this kind of phenomenological disclosure that is meaningful to people and which is somehow laden with intentionality. An America that speaks to people. An America that people have, right? An America that belongs to the people. It doesn't belong to the sacred past. It belongs to the people. That, my friends, is the political aesthetics of socialism. Not only socialism, but 20th century communism, and even communism today in China. The Communist Party of China acts as a transcendental brand. It is literally functions. If you are a media theorist, if you are a cultural theorist, then structurally, the Communist Party of China functions in Chinese society as the highest of highest brands, right? And this is the beautiful achievement of MAGA. The beautiful achievement of MAGA is that it has emptied America into a sign. And that sign is now suspended actively in the life of the people. That is so fucking beautiful, right? Classical liberal America is this bluff, this veneer of the coastal Washington elites of, oh, the sacred principles of liberty and democracy and all this jibber jabber, right? And it's a total fucking bluff. And then MAGA comes here and says, America is only what we, the people, are here and now making of it. That's all. It's not in Washington, D.C., in some fucking statues, or it's not in the fucking Capitol building. You know, I don't know if you can talk about this on YouTube, but there's a fucking reason, a specific date on a specific year. Whoa, oh my God, this is the worst event in American history. Oh my God, the sacred. There's a reason they freaked out about it, because it symbolizes exactly how MAGA elevated the meaning inherent in the people, meaningfulness for the people. Thank you so much, TXYX.
Merch is good for both political promotion and fundings. Wish you luck on.
Thank you so much, TXYX. There's a reason, there's a very good reason why they were so traumatized by that event. Because these MAGA chuds walked in a certain place, you know, taking pictures and just, it was like a fucking theme park. It was basically a theme park. And liberals were so fucking horrified by that, because that was an assertion of dominance of the people's America over the institution of America. And that, for liberals, is like Mao's Cultural Revolution. That's pretty much the equivalent. That's the Red Guards storming the party bosses and party lords and the bureaucrats of the Chinese state and humbling them down. The meaning is in this little red book that every single fucking person can wield, right? That's the true power of the Chinese state. This little red book that I can carry, that you can carry, that we can all carry. And America's little red book was that MAGA hat. And it's almost pretty much the same economic, whatever. It's the same structural, sociological thing happening in America. See, Bill Maher was wrong. America's cultural revolution is not cancel culture. America's real cultural revolution, catching up to China, is MAGA. The ones who observed the connection between MAGA and Maoism were probably some of the smartest minds from liberal coastal America. And a few did observe that, right? MAGA is America's version of China's cultural revolution and its equivalent.